What a game. What a day. We're breaking down the Monday Night Football chaos that went down in the Mile High City. We're talking about how concerned should we be about the Broncos defense and the Broncos offense, and how good of a win was this for the Broncos playoffs. Did they essentially lock up a playoff spot with their win last night? We're starting that conversation now. Broncos Country, what a win for the Denver Broncos over the Cleveland Browns on Monday Night Football. Prime time fun, and the Broncos showed that they deserve to be on prime time, and they just showed that they're a damn good team. We're going to break down the game on the DNVR Broncos podcast. We got Super Bowl 50 champ Todd Davis, Henry Chisholm, you're here behind the camera, Zach Stevens, rocking and rolling with you. And of course, we're live from the Toyota Lounge inside the DNVR Bar, the Toyota Lounge, driven by your local Front Range Toyota stores. And we're also driven by our presenting sponsor, Bet365. Use that code DNVR365. Place a $5 bet. You're going to get $150 in bonus bets. And one more thing. Henry and I have dropped a lot of content since the game ended. And if you want to get in on that content, we've got a sale, a 36-hour sale with less than 12 hours left over at thednvr.com. Get a year membership to become a diehard and rock and roll with us for just $36 for a season. That's over half off. We really appreciate the support. Fellas, how we doing 12 hours after that game wrapped up?
So it's like, what, Victory Tuesday?
Exactly. Exactly.
I feel good. The Broncos played well enough to win. You know, it wasn't a perfect game, but ultimately a win is a win. That's all that matters, and we got the dub. On to the bye week. We got to talk about the game first, but...
after that.
How do you talk about a bye week? Well, I know how I talk about it. This is my last show of the week.
Oh, yeah.
You know what? You know in Deadpool, they bet on, who's going to die first?
Yeah.
Be like, who's going to, get in trouble this week?
Whoa. Why? I thought you were going to say who's going to get paid first, who's going to get that bye week contract. And you're talking about guys dying and getting in trouble?
No, not dying. But just, bye weeks can be trouble. I was just listening to your guys' post-game show last night when Jarrell was saying, don't let them leave town. And that was for the first time I was like, okay, maybe this is just a little bit nervous. Not super nervous, but only bad things can happen in a bye week.
Todd, don't tell me that you've already gone from the student to the teacher and you're now as a student, of course, you want to go on vacation, but the teachers don't want to let you get too far away. So they, do things to keep you in town. Don't tell me you've already switched.
I made the change.
Oh, no. You've seen too many things?
Yeah. I've been in too many situations, and I understand, a lot about... I've been in their shoes. I've been a student before, so now it's time to keep people kind of home.
Is it Vegas? Is it Mexico? Is it the Caribbean? What
do you mean saying what's off limits?
Yeah, what's getting people in trouble on these trips?
All of it. Sometimes even going back home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nowhere safe when you're a winning team, you're 8-5, you're feeling good, it's best just to stay in Denver.
And it's not even big trouble, but the alcohol intake in a bye week goes up. The quality of the food probably isn't the greatest. It just seems like you're probably not working out quite as much. And everybody probably thinks that they will, but there's just a lot of little things where you just don't come back quite as sharp as you were. Vacations aren't always good for people.
Man, vacations are the absolute best,
They're fun.
I think.
They're not good. Not always good.
You know what? Since we're talking about this, Bo Nix was asked about this last night because I was a little surprised at Bo's initial take on the bye week. When Henry, if you saw the quotes, don't respond. When I say I'm surprised at Bo's initial take, what do you think? What do you think he said about the bye week?
He's not doing anything for the bye. He's staying here.
He it was kind of the opposite of that. It wasn't crazy, but he said he's really looking forward to the bye. The Broncos really need this. I just thought, coming off a monster win, Broncos are 8-3 since week 3 of this season. They're rocking and rolling. I kind of thought the vibe would be like, yeah, we're happy to have it. Man, we're rolling right now. We could go play next week. No, they've just played 13 straight weeks.
Yeah.
They're ready for this, and they 100% deserve it. So the question was brought up to Bo, like, hey, you're really excited for this bye, understandably so, but like, are you a little worried that it might slow down your momentum? And he said, no, you've got to take time off. You got to rest mentally, physically. And then he said, we have a whole week when we come back to get back in shape and ready for the Colts game.
Yeah, I think that'd be fine. And like you said, 13 games in a row plus training camp. Like, you're tired. Like, it's been a long season so far. So, a break is definitely earned and needed. And I liked it, like, timing of the bye week, because I've always liked playing most of the games, taking a break, and then coming back and trying to finish strong. So I think it's perfect time for the Broncos. I don't feel like it's going to mess them up too much.
And it's one more game where you don't have to worry about not having Riley.
Oh,
you get to push that problem back a week, give him another week to recover.
Ain't that the truth? And let's dive into this game. But really quick, Todd, you said something that I just want to piggyback off. When the Broncos schedule came out and they had a week 14 bye week, this is the latest bye week Sean Payton's ever had. It's the latest bye week that is available in the NFL this year. When it came out, it was like, oh man, that's either going to be a perfect bye week if the Broncos are making a playoff push, or it's going to be like a wasted bye week. Like if the Broncos were the Browns right now and they're sitting at 3-9 and they have a week 14 bye week, you might as well just book your vacation for the bye week and just stay on vacation until the end of the season. Like, it would just make no sense. It would feel wasted. But the Broncos made sure to take advantage of that late bye week and make it worth it. At 8-5 right now, to get healthy and like you said, get Riley Moss back, get rested and rejuvenated for not just to make a playoff push, but then to make a run in the playoffs. That's a little advantage that maybe will come to benefit the Broncos in these final 4 games of the season. But before we get to that, let's take a step back and look at this game. I want to ask you guys the Tuesday morning question. Do you feel better, worse, or the same about that Broncos win 12 hours after it ended?
Probably the same.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it literally just happened. We got home at like 1:30, and then now all of a sudden I'm here.
Well, sometimes after you wake up after something, you either feel better, maybe you regret
really.
it.
To me, it's just we saw it happen. Like, it was what it. I don't really do things I regret. Yeah, I mean, they won in a different way, which is good. It wasn't pretty, which isn't good. I think the Browns are a pretty good football team right now, so I'm not too concerned. A win's a win. It was a big game. You got the win. That was a great night.
Yep. Todd?
Yeah, I'm about the same too. Like, it wasn't a pretty win. There was a lot of things that could be corrected and cleaned up. It showed how important certain players are to this team.
Yep.
The defense stood up when it needed to. It did give up 32 points, but at the end of the day, they found a way to put 14 on the board. So
Yep.
you guys can do the math there. So ultimately, I feel good about it, but it wasn't the perfect game.
Yeah, to me, like, the Broncos are at a point where, like, we know what they are. Like, they are a deserving playoff team. Like, they're one of the 7 best teams in the AFC. That's very clear. Like, what you want now is for at some point for them to level up and get to the point where you're saying, like, oh, they can make a run. Like, they can compete with the best of the best, not just like they belong in that top 7. And last night, while it was a good win, and you don't want to discount any win, especially on Monday Night Football and that situation, all that was going into that, you don't discount it, but it definitely wasn't a win where you say, like, okay, now I think that they can be a true contender. Like, my opinion of the Broncos doesn't really change all that much based on last night, I guess.
I'm going to disagree with you a little bit on that, because when you were going through that, one place my mind went, and this is going to sound weird initially, it went to the Super Bowl 50 defense. Now, I don't think the Super Bowl 50 defense ever gave up 550 yards in a game. But the Super Bowl 50 defense did come up with game-changing plays, and not just turnovers, but turnovers at crucial times of the game. And not just turnovers at crucial times of the game, but crucial turnovers, or turnovers at crucial times of the game that led to points and that they actually scored on. And man, that's what this team was. They were not perfect, but especially on the defensive side of the ball, but they put up 14 points on their own. You do that, you can give up 500 yards of offense. You can't, Todd. They literally just won the game. That's what I'm saying. You can do that. You can make up for it like that because they won the game, and you're not always going to win in one specific way. We talked about the Super Bowl 50 defense gave up 30 points, I think, twice in that season. Like, they weren't always perfect, but they came up with good plays. This defense obviously was far from perfect yesterday, but they came up with plays to win the game. And crazy enough, Bo Nix has his worst statistical game since week 2. And we'll talk about his game. I wasn't actually as bad as the stats say, but he's still able to hit a 93-yard bomb to Marvin Mims. I think that was the throw of the year. It was incredible. The Broncos offense has not one, but 2 100-yard receivers. Like, man, I just love that this team was able to find a different way to win, because come playoff time, they're probably going to have to find a way to win. If they want to win in the playoffs, they're going to have to find a way to win rushing for 150 yards in a game. They might have to find a way to win in a shootout where the defense isn't able to contain the Baltimore Ravens. So I actually am... maybe I'm just riding the high of that game because it wasn't just a Broncos win, but it was an awesome game. It was
a fun game.
I loved the game. That was a game that I never wanted to end.
So are you saying you're more encouraged by the defense after watching that game?
I am, yes, because I'm gonna put an asterisk on it.
Okay.
Because Riley Moss is that freaking valuable. And so I'm gonna put all the bad. I'm gonna put the 215 receiving yards that Jerry Jeudy had when not covered by Pat Surtain on Riley Moss in a good way, and just cross my fingers and hope that he is that valuable. If so, Jameis has what, 300 passing yards? Still not. No, what?
But I'm
not
taking
great.
Those other 200 yards. I mean, they weren't all on Levi Wallace.
Exactly.
Like, he had, 2 really bad
170 of them or something.
Riley's not taking 200
off the board. Well, the first
board.
45 yards was just Jerry beat him in zone. So
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So that's it. Take that one away.
No, there was more than that, because there was other stuff on the sideline where the linebacker missed the tackle. There was other plays, but
also Riley's not holding him to 0.
I agree. But I do think you're just a little high, and I don't feel like this should be like our recipe for winning. Like, you know what I'm saying? Just because you didn't study for the test and got a good grade doesn't mean you shouldn't study for any test ever again.
Yeah.
Like,
that's not what I'm saying, though.
No, you tried.
No. I'm saying I love that they found a different way to win, because the way the Broncos had been winning was just suffocating defense, and the offense actually not just doing enough, but dominating at times. There is a chance that you play the Baltimore Ravens in the playoffs. How did that go when the Broncos played them a month ago? The Ravens put up 41 points. How do the Broncos counter that if they're not able to hold a team to 16 points and they get in a shootout against the Bills or the Ravens? This gave me hope that there is a formula for that.
The problem is that Jameis Winston isn't going to be the Ravens quarterback. And so you're not probably getting the same opportunities. And also, I mean, you just can't be going around giving 497 passing yards to any quarterback, let alone Jameis Winston. And again, it was really fun, and I do think there is something too. Like, the offense was able to answer. They were able to find plays on their own to match what the Browns were doing. But
and it's still the Browns. They're 3-8 with their backup quarterback. Like, they have one receiver with a name that people know. I mean, Elijah Moore's pretty good, but
No, it's just Jerry Jeudy.
It's not like a top tier team that we played last night. But I love the win. I'm not trying to say that.
Yeah.
It was a great game. It was fun.
Let's dive in.
All that matters is the win.
Let's dive into Jerry Jeudy specifically here and why the Broncos didn't play him the way that we all thought they should have played him, because we got an answer from Sean Payton after the game. But before we do that, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Empire Today. Empire Today. That is the slogan for Empire, and everyone needs floors. So everyone should check out our friends over at Empire. And the thing about Empire is they have a lot of copycats because they do things the right way. So you're going to want to make sure you don't go to those copycats because they're not going to do it the right way that Empire does. And one of the coolest things about Empire, they've got their virtual floor designer, and it's a great way to see how new floors will look in any space. It's easy. Just snap a picture and instantly see how your new floors will look in your room. Shopping at big box stores can be frustrating, and one of the great things about Empire is they service their own warranties. If an issue arises, just call Empire. They service all warranties themselves. You don't have to track down anyone else. Just call them. Schedule a free home in estimate today, and all listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use the promo code DNVR. Restrictions apply. See empire.com/DNVR for details.
Also, shout out to Live Well. Oh, our little clock went from 41 seconds to 43. It just skipped 42. That's kind of fun.
Wow.
I wonder what happened, actually. Maybe I just went to Live Well. I actually didn't, but that would explain this. Or Zach being a little bit high in his opinions.
I think let us know in the comment section.
Okay.
Am I too crazy here, or are you guys living as high as I am?
If you want to live as high as Zach is, you can go to Live Well because they've got just the best cannabis that you'll find anywhere. 25 convenient Colorado dispensary locations, premium selection, expert service. They're knowledgeable, they're supportive. They proudly offer a price match guarantee, which means that if you see one of their products or a product they sell at one of the local competitors, they will match their price. So check that out. You can visit livewell.com today to reserve your products online or set up a quick in-store pickup. Simply stop by. They can't wait to answer all of your questions. And if you mention the code DNVR25 in the store, you can get 25% off one regular price item. Restrictions apply.
And shout out to our presenting sponsor, Bet365. Use that code DNVR365 to get $150 in bonus bets when placing a $5 bet. You had something? Oh, and of course,
yes,
with the pick 6 from Nik Bonitto, no better time to get the Casa Bonitto shirt that we just dropped this weekend. And man, I mean, Bonitto took it to the Casa. What a perfect time for this shirt. Make sure to get it over at the locker.
So I tweeted that, like, Bonitto to the Casa from the Broncos account.
Yeah.
Got like 100 likes or something. 2 minutes later, RK tweeted it.
Yeah.
Got like 800.
Wow. Guess you just didn't phrase it well enough.
No, we said literally the exact same thing.
RG also tweeted it too.
I mean, it's not that clever, but still, it seems like our Broncos account should be able to outshine RK. Also, Nik Bonitto now 1 sack off the NFL lead, tied for second in the NFL.
Incredible.
Also had the pick 6. Pretty
Well,
crazy.
We can just start right there. Nik Bonitto was absolutely insane yesterday. He became just the second Bronco to have 10 sacks and a pick 6 in a season. You know who the other one was? Von Miller. And he did that in 2012 when he had 18 and a half sacks. Maybe we see that type of season from Nik. Maybe he closes out the season that strong. But that just shows how good of a season Nik Bonitto is having. And this stat, credit to Mace for digging it up. Since 1982, when sacks became an official stat, get this, hang with me here. Nik Bonitto is just the 5th player in NFL history to have 10-plus sacks in a season and an interception of 70 or more yards returned for a touchdown. Rare air for Nik Bonitto
Yes.
right there,
Rare
making
stat.
plays. And honestly, this Nik Bonitto play, it wasn't as impactful for the season as Pat Surtain's pick 6, because I think that was the most impactful play of the entire season. But this was almost just as impactful in the game. Like, totally flipped this game for the Broncos side. And the Broncos never really truly lost momentum. Actually, never lost the lead after that. Actually, they did, but then they got it back. But it was that crucial in the game. And then he goes out later in the game and has a huge half sack where Jonathan Cooper helped get Jameis Winston down as well. Broncos avoid a illegal helmet-to-helmet hit from Jonathan Cooper there as well. But Nik Bonitto, just another monster game.
They gave Jonathan Cooper a half sack on that?
They did.
They did.
Hey.
I do think
That's one where you got to like low key petition the NFL, like write an anonymous letter, because you
Yeah.
can like
Yeah.
argue your stats.
I heard
Not to take a half sack away from anybody, but
I think
just to add one to yourself.
I think it was Vaughn. He would have and maybe you even know this. He would have deals with guys like, "Hey, that half sack, is going to be way more valuable to me and my contract, I'll buy the next dinner or something if you allow this petition or like help this petition go through with the NFL.
I don't know.
So they changed it to a full sack, actually.
They did.
Chance.
Okay, good.
Oh, so now he's a half sack off the NFL lead.
Because he does
Not
deserve
even tied
that,
for second.
sure.
Yeah, that was. I thought he had him on the ground.
Yeah.
The tough part, Jameis is just so strong, and I almost thought he could throw that ball away.
It would have been an
if
interception
Coop-
or something. He would have just.
That is true. You probably
It
did
would have
want.
got worse.
The more he throws the ball, the better. Those are
I know, but Nik
opportunities.
Bonitto, he's playing really well, man. He's found his groove. He's been a talented player since he entered the NFL, and it was just, when is he going to mature? When is he going to find his groove? When is he going to be able to play all three downs? And I feel like, over this season, off season, he's really put his game together, and it looks really good out there on the field. And he's making all the plays you need to make. I know it's a little early to talk about Defensive Player of the Year, but talk about making game-changing plays. Last week's strip sack was huge. This week's sack, another pick six. Well, not another one, but a pick six. I mean, he's just making plays left and right. And, man, he's playing really well. I'm glad that the Broncos don't have to pay him just yet, because I don't know if we have the money for it. But
Yeah.
soon he's going to get paid.
I spent a lot of time thinking about Nik Bonitto last night.
Whoa.
Well, not like that, Zach, but just like, what if, let's live in a world where Nik Bonitto actually does win Defensive Player of the Year. What if you leave this season, because he finished the season so strongly, saying like, Pat Surtain's your second best defender?
No,
Could you
couldn't do
imagine?
that.
Like,
No.
we probably not. But if Nik Bonitto actually wins Defensive Player of the Year,
No.
which is
No, you would never think
No,
that.
I agree. I agree with Todd. No.
Nick would have to have like 23 sacks.
Yep.
yeah,
I
but
completely
what if he
agree.
does?
He will not
would
have
have-
12 sacks in the next 4 games.
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
as
I mean-
you guys have said I'm way too high
guys
right
have
now.
both
No,
spoken
but I
on
was
the
just
same.
thinking about, but if he's literally the Defensive Player of the Year, I mean, then he was the best defender on your team, right?
No, he was the guy with the most stats on your team.
Okay.
We know that this award goes to pass rushers. Unfortunately, that's what we've been saying, why Pat's probably not going to win the award, which is a shame.
I think Nick can do it. I think he's talented enough and explosive enough.
Yeah, 'cause
like,
he's
still
not a
only
cornerback.
25 in the
And you're
trajectory.
saying he can be the Defensive Player of the Year, or he's saying he can be the best defender on the Broncos?
I think there's a world in which it
It's
happens.
crazy.
I think there's a world in which it happens. That's nothing against
You're
Pat.
absolute. No, you're nuts, bro.
No.
Have
Yeah.
you watched Pat play football?
Absolutely. No,
Yeah.
he's the best cornerback in the NFL, and it isn't close.
No, he may be the best cornerback ever. And you're trying to say Nik Bonitto.
Yeah.
That's-
I'm just saying. I mean, I think there's a world in
I
which it
love
happens.
Nick. I think he's phenomenal, and I think he is one of the best players on the Broncos.
How
but to try
surprised-
and now say that he's could be better than Pat Surtain after 11 games,
I'm just
13.
saying.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, it's a
It's crazy.
trajectory. I think because it's 11 games is why I can get excited. I think. What if?
I
what if
noticed
he, what
that
if he goes,
you always buy the hype. Like you don't, you won't trust somebody if they show you something bad. But if it's like they're doing good and there's hype there, you'll buy it every time.
it was just a thought I had last night. What if I'm laying in bed at 2 a.m, I can't sleep, and I was just like, well, what if Nik Bonitto does become your best, or just as good as Pat? What if he does become the
Henry,
best?
that's when you just need to fall asleep. You
No.
just need to put those crazy
the
thoughts.
bigger
to
point
bed.
is, though, it really sets the path for what you need to do this offseason. Because I think in some ways the Broncos are in a tough spot just because everybody's playing well. Like you maybe have a hole here or there, but for the most part you can kind of run it back and just there's nothing clear that you need to add. But you go into the offseason saying we have a dominant edge rusher in Nik Bonitto, we have a dominant cornerback in Pat Surtain, we have a dominant defensive lineman in Zach Allen. All that's left is linebacker and safety. Like those are the two spots in that defense where you don't just have like
Shout
an
out
absolute
Alex Singleton. I wouldn't do that to you. Sorry, Hank is.
And Cody
he's-
Barton's playing lights out right
He's
now.
making plays.
Another
Cody's
pick.
making plays. But again, like it I think all of a sudden those are the two areas where you key in on and say, like, if you go get a big name free agent, like Buda Baker, Javon Holland, linebacker is a little bit tougher, but I mean those are kind of the two spots where you don't have, to me at this point, somebody who can be an all-pro for you.
I just don't think the Broncos need to add to their defense. I'm not so shook from last night's
But
game.
they only have one-
where I'm like,
Well,
they got
they
to
have-
upgrade right
They
now.
have one linebacker under contract for
Let's-
next year, and he's
let's-
making $6 million and isn't playing.
Let's use that money on the offensive side of the ball. Let's get even more playmakers for Bo Nix, because what Bo Nix is doing with this group is phenomenal. And some of these guys really are stepping up. Shout out to Marvin Mims. Obviously, Cortland, we've given his deserved praise. But really quick, when it goes to the Nik Bonitto conversation, he cannot be extended during the bye week. He was drafted, which means you can't get an extension until after your third season. So there's going to be no extension for Nik Bonitto this year. It could happen as soon as this offseason. And Henry, James Palmer, and I were talking after the game. And I think Henry and James are absolutely crazy for their expectations for Nik Bonitto's next contract. I just want to make Broncos Country aware of what it's going to look like. It's going to start at $25 million per year as a minimum. And it might be $30 million plus, depending on how he finishes out this season. If Nick wants to take a little bit of a discount to get $60 million in guaranteed money this offseason, or if he wants to bet on himself and say, no, I want to prove that I deserve Nick Bosa $35 million per year money and go out and do this again for the first half of next season, then if he puts together a year and a half of this elite play, then he can ask for $35 million and get it from the Broncos or from someone else. So right now, you got to start thinking at $25 million because that's what pass rushers get. And we talk about him being second in the NFL in sacks right now. That's an elite pass rusher. He's not going to take $15 million like Jonathan Cooper. He's not going to take $20 million. So I just want Broncos Country to be prepared. You're going to pay Nik Bonitto a ton of money, and it's worth it if he's this player.
He's going to get a bag. But you guys didn't feel like he was going to get a bag? You felt
No,
like he was...
when I said 25, 30 million, they thought I was crazy.
30 million is crazy. I mean, there's one defender in the NFL who makes $30 million a year, and that's Nick Bosa.
And he makes 35.
Yeah, but there's one in the NFL.
25.
Exactly. No, see, that's
at a starting point.
I don't know about starting point.
I don't know. That's 10 more than what you're giving Coop, right?
Yeah, but we're not talking about Cooper being an elite edge rusher. We're not talking about him being half a sack off the NFL
$10 million a year
league.
more is not elite. But and I always think like the reason why Bosa gets paid what he does is like it's multiple years of
Exactly.
being elite. I think Nick, like you said, he has to do this for a year and some change in order to get $30 million.
Yeah, and I totally agree. To get $30 million, and he might say, I'm going to bet on myself. Credit to Nick, he's only trending up right now.
Yeah.
So he might say, this isn't a fluke. I don't want your hometown discount right now. Let me go out there, play 6-8 more games, and then at next year's bye week, then I'll show you that I'm worth the 30, 32, 35 million a year.
There's no way he's
There's
getting
no
over
way.
30.
It's not possible.
Okay, it's 100% possible, and
If
that's why I'm just trying to warm Broncos
How
Country
much
up to
does
this
TJ
idea.
make?
28, but he signed the deal 3 years ago, I think.
I think he still doesn't make 28.
So I wouldn't be surprised. It's over 25. We looked
No,
up
I'm
last.
saying
Yeah.
I bet Nick doesn't make 28.
Well, maybe TJ comes out and gets a $35 million extension this offseason, and then we're talking about, oh my gosh, this wide receiver market that we just saw explode. It's happening to the pass rushers right now.
If Nik Bonitto makes that much money, it's going to be because he's as good as Pat Surtain. That's the only way. That's the only way.
I think you're.
That's the only way.
No, it's just pass rushers. Pass rushers get paid more. Pat Surtain's the highest paid cornerback in the NFL at $24 million per year. I think he's better than so many of those all of those pass rushers that get paid more than him. It's just because the pass rusher position gets more, just like wide receiver. Do you think Brandon Ayuk is better than
But
Pat
that's
Surtain?
not what we're talking. But again,
yes, it is. You're talking. You're comparing money.
No, we're not comparing money. It's if Nick gets $30 million a year, it's because he's better than it's because he's as good as Pat Surtain. That's the only way you get to 30.
I think you're disrespecting Pat.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I think he's not getting $30
We're talking
million.
about Nik Bonitto. We're talking about good pass rushers this year. When you talk about Pat Surtain, you got to talk about
totally.
Champ Bailey, Darrell Reeves. You got to talk about all-time corners, not just corners that are playing right now.
It's true.
It's a very different conversation.
But I mean, again, like if Nik Bonitto finishes this year off and goes and gets, like, say he gets a sack in each of the last 4 games, he finishes the season with 15 sacks. If he's a 15 sack a year player for the next 5 years, he's on the doorstep. That's still a hint behind Surtain, but it's not too far behind if you're getting 15 a year.
I do think.
You know.
No,
I mean,
no.
okay.
I don't think it's the same. I still don't think it's the same. If you look at the list of just wide receivers that Pat Surtain has locked down this year, it's completely unmatched to the tackles that Nik Bonitto is going against.
Yeah.
What's your like sacks per season rate that you would say that is equivalent to Pat Surtain? Like, do you need to be 20 sacks every single year?
You need to be like Aaron Donald.
I don't think
and
that's ever happened.
You need to be like Aaron Donald and TJ Watt. Like, you have to have 18 to 20 sacks for multiple years to be in the conversation. You have to be in the best of all time conversation. Like, Patrick Mahomes, if he just continues to play football, he will be a Hall of Famer.
First ballot.
First ballot. Nik Bonitto right now is about to make his first Pro Bowl. You can't have a conversation about the two.
So TJ Watt, here's the numbers. Again, there's injuries occasionally, but 7 sacks, 13, 14.5, 15, 22.5, 5.5 injured, of course, 19, 9.5 this year. Like,
you're just
if you're looking
casually
at
throwing
TJ
out
Watt,
19
Yeah.
sack
Oh, yeah.
seasons.
but if you just look
multiple
at kind of
those?
the average when healthy, that's 106 sacks in 116 games is what it comes down to.
Okay, now do me a favor. If you want to play that game, and I'm not trying to tear Nik
We're not
Bonitto
done.
down. He should be Defensive Player of the Year. Do that for Nik Bonitto. What's his average sacks, too, then?
But again, like, so I'm just saying 106 over 116 games.
Yeah.
That comes out to about 15, 16 a season. And again, if you're talking like peak TJ Watt, you take out the first year we only had 7 sacks. Then you're probably looking at like that 17, 18 sacks a year. So
No,
maybe
you
that
said
is
peak
what it is.
TJ Watt. He had a 19 sack season. That's peak.
That's 1 year though. Like, if we're talking stretch,
That's peak.
I'm just saying, like, Nik Bonitto, if over the course of the next 4 or 5 years he's a 15 sack per season guy, that is like a step behind. So it probably does need to be more like 17 to say like this guy's as valuable to a defense as Pat is. But the way he's playing right now, I mean, you certainly don't expect it, but it's possible, I think. And going back to the point, the only way Nik Bonitto is getting $30 million a year is if he's doing that sort of thing, because nobody gets $30 million a year on defense.
Just wait. I just want to prepare Broncos country, just like I'm trying to prepare you guys right now. We were going to talk about Jerry Jeudy and Pat Surtain, but we got into this conversation. Let's talk about why the Broncos didn't line up Pat Surtain on Jerry Jeudy the entire game. After I give a shout out to our friends over at Circle K, where our friends over at Circle K are going to fill your car up and they're going to fill your belly up with snacks. They've got it all from Polar Pops to snacks, and they've also got deals on everything that they've got. You can get 25 cents off per gallon on your next 5 fill-ups when you sign up for the Inner Circle K app with Inner Circle program, and 25 cents off per gallon on your next 5 fill-ups. You're going to get free deals left and right. They're giving out Polar Pops for free as well, so make sure to check out the app. You can scan the QR code on our screen or go to the App Store and download the Inner Circle the Inner Circle app on Circle K's app. They've got free membership. It's easy to download. All you do is enter your email and phone number to be fully enrolled, and all you need is your phone number to get these deals on everyday things like foods, drinks, gas, and more. Download the Inner K Circle app and sign up for Inner Circle for exclusive offers. New offers, Purchase Club, and sweepstakes are uploaded weekly.
And shout out to our friends over at Game Time. Right now, you can use the code DNVR for $20 off. And if you want to check out the Broncos and you want to see whether Pat Surtain is better than Nik Bonitto or Nik Bonitto's better than Pat Surtain, you need a close view to the game. So go check out our friends over at Game Time. But if you also want to check out any movies, any shows, theater, the Avalanche, the Nuggets, Game Time definitely has it all. And you can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. You can download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code DNVR for $20 off your first purchase. Game Time is super easy. It's super simple. They have all-in pricing, so you don't have to worry about, $200 in fees hitting your account once you get to your cart. It's very easy to see. You get to see where you're sitting with a 360 view, so you know what the field's going to look like. You can make sure you head over to Game Time right now. Remember, terms apply. Create an account. Redeem code DNVR for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game time. Shout out to Bet365, our presenting sponsor. Use that code DNVR365. And shout out to everyone rocking and rolling with us less than 12 hours after the game ended. If you're tuning in, hit us with a thumbs up. We really appreciate it. Helps us a ton. Shows us that you like us. Doing, two shows within a 12-hour span, having Noshawn, Jarrell, Wesley Woodyard calling, of course, Todd rocking and rolling. You here for all of his work, and we really appreciate all of you guys as well. Okay, so let's dive into this. When Pat Surtain was on Jerry Jeudy, he had 2 catches for 20 yards. When anyone else was on him, Jerry Jeudy had 215 15 receiving yards on 7 catches for a touchdown. Of course, a 70-yard receiving touchdown where he falls into the end zone to celebrate. He's asking the crowd to boo him even more. After the game, he said, yeah, there were a lot of boos. That must have meant there were a lot of catches for me as well. Jerry Jeudy was having the time of his life outside of when Pat Surtain was covering him. What did you guys see? Why the heck wasn't Pat Surtain covering him? And were you just as frustrated, Todd, as I think all of Broncos country was? Certainly in the press box, it was just like, why is number 2 not on number 3 all game long?
Well, I guess they didn't give Jerry Jeudy the credit he deserved or fear him like that. Normally Pat follows number 1 receivers, Mike Evans, guys that have kind of put up big numbers and been Pro Bowl players. I just think Jerry hasn't been there yet. We all knew that he was talented, but maybe that was a miscalculation by the defense right there, not having Pat on him the entire game and taking him away. I mean, Elijah Moore still had over 100 yards, so they had some talent at wide receiver.
Yeah, and I mean Pat was on him 60% of the time. That is. It's not like he was on the other side. Like, they went out of their way to put Pat Surtain on Jerry Jeudy more than you would expect it to happen just randomly. But as Sean said after the game, like, it's just kind of tough to set those matchups. When you put Jerry in motion, all of a sudden he's on the other side of the field. If you're playing zone coverage, like, what are you going to do? You're just going to have everybody flip their assignments so that you can move Pat across. Like, it's a lot easier said than done. The only way they could have made the adjustment to just Pat is on Jerry on every snap is to play man coverage the entire, second half of the game whenever they make the decision. And that, the way Levi Wallace was playing in particular, it's just not something that seems like a great idea. So I see the struggle.
So, Henry, the way you said what Sean said after the game, I just want to make clear, he said it in a very different way. Sean took accountability and said, us as coaches need to do a better job. The way our defense was set up, at least in that game, made it way too easy for the Browns to move Jerry Jeudy in motion before the snap and get Pat Surtain off of him. And he said, he insinuated that the Browns did that in order to get Jerry Jeudy free from Pat Surtain. And he said, we as coaches need to change the way that happens because it cannot be that easy moving forward for teams to move their number 1 receiver off of Pat Surtain if we want him to follow. So the game plan was for Pat Surtain to be on Jerry Jeudy the entire game. The Browns, and credit to Kevin Stefanski, essentially is what Sean said after the game, did a great job of finding a way to separate Jerry and get him off of Pat and get him on Levi Wallace to get 215 yards when he wasn't covered by Pat. But that gave me a big sigh of relief. Like, okay, at least the Broncos aren't like overthinking this and like saying, we don't need our number 1 corner on their only weapon that they have outside of David Njoku. The plan was to do that. And then Sean taking blame after, saying we have to change that moving forward to make it not as easy.
I mean that's easier said than done because sometimes you get in those stacks or bunch formations where it's 2 or 3 wide receivers bunched together, and you have to kind of let it all play out. And if it plays out to where Pat's not on Jerry Jeudy, then there's nothing you could do on that play. Because if you try to always lock it up, you're going to get caught in the wash. Some guy's going to be running free. You won't be having like effective coverage. So it's tough, but that's what I would do if I was playing the Broncos. You want to guard my number 1? Okay, I'm going to put him in situations to where it's going to be hard for you to get through, your teammates, our teammates, to be able to get to him.
My biggest thing, Broncos play the Colts in 2 weeks. Obviously, Anthony Richardson has a little bit of Jameis to him, can go off, can also make some just wild decisions. But 2 weeks after that, I'm not really worried about the Chargers wide receivers when it comes to the secondary. 2 weeks after that, Broncos better have this figured out because the last time the Broncos and Bengals played, Jamar Chase was shut down. Pat Surtain held him to, I think, to 1 catch for 9 yards or something like that. If I'm the Bengals, I'm watching this film of last night and saying, I'm doing that with Jerry Jeudy or with Jamar Chase just like they did with Jerry Jeudy and getting him away from Pat every single opportunity I can because I think Jamar Chase is better than Jerry Jeudy. And if Jerry Jeudy went for 235, Jamar Chase is going to go for 435 in this game. So that's one thing that the Broncos have to get it figured out by them. But the good thing is they have almost a month to get that figured out. But that's kind of why the Broncos, or why everyone was banging their heads against the table like, why is it Pat on Jerry? It seemed like that was supposed to be the plan. And the Broncos get to learn after a win, which is kind of also the message from Sean after the game. Like, hey, this was not a perfect game, but we made enough plays at the right times to get the win. This is the time to learn after wins, especially going into a bye week. Let's flip over to the offensive side of the ball. What stood out to you guys about the offense in this game, putting up 27 points?
No, I'm just kidding. No, they look good. I thought Jaleel looks really talented as a running back, which he really has when he's been given opportunities. They put Marvin Mims in quite a bit in the backfield as of late, and I feel like those should have been Jaleel's touches anyway. So it's good to see him get, more than 7 touches in the game and, make the most of it. Marvin Mims looked good as a wide receiver, though. Continues to find ways to get open, catch that deep ball for like 93 yards. That was really, really fantastic. I think everybody played really well. I thought Bo was a little bit prime time happy maybe with the football. Like he was like trying to gunsling it, show everybody that he is Rookie of the Year, that he has the ability to be a starter in the NFL. And, got us in trouble once or twice. But ultimately, I think the team as a whole played well.
Yeah. I think it was good to see Jaleel get going. That running game still isn't good enough, though. Like you've got to. I'm not sure how you fix it, but you just need more out of it. First time since 2016 that the Broncos had 200-yard receivers.
Yeah,
that's nice. Obviously, they did it in different ways. Marvin Mims just had the one big play and a couple short catches. He has great hands. Like he's good at catching the football. He's good at tracking the football. We just haven't been able to see it all that much. In part because he doesn't get open or they don't throw to him or whatever. But it's good to see him make that play.
Apparently, he doesn't need to be open. On that 93-yard touchdown, he had 0.4 yards of separation. That's like 5 inches of separation with a Pro Bowl cornerback just right on him. Denzel Ward almost had the pick. That throw, I truly think it's the throw of the year in the entire NFL because of how good it was, the implications. It went for a 93-yard touchdown. It was an absolute rope that Bo Nix put it on. It went 44 yards in the air and only 0.4 yards of separation. He was still able to get it in.
And that's why you drafted Marvin Mims in the second round, because that's what he did in college, is make tough catches. Like the combination of speed and making catches like that, it's rare. And it hasn't really worked out so far, but it's good to see it. And Sutton, too. Like that's one of the best receivers in the NFL. Like it's whenever you whenever
you said what?
Yeah, whenever you need him, he's right there. Like he's converting third downs, he's getting open underneath, he's making plays down the field. Like there's not many guys I would take over Cortland Sutton right now.
Wow. Wow. So that means, what does that mean? It means top 10?
Oh boy, I don't know. We need to go through.
Because there's not many guys. There can't be 10 of them.
That's a good point, Todd.
The post game with Jarrell, they don't know that conversation.
No, I've had it with them.
Haven't you?
Yeah.
We've got 3 shows left this week with no real Broncos news to talk about. Let's figure out where Court ranks this week.
Oh, very
I like
interesting.
that.
We'll make a list.
Could you imagine if the Broncos had two guys like Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton on their same team?
That would be crazy.
Putting up like 350 yards together in one game. But I just really quick on the offensive side, everything you guys said is right, except I want to push back on the gunslinger thing because Bo Nix's stat line did make him seem like a out-of-control gunslinger. I thought he was just aggressive in a good way. Can I sell you on the fact that neither of those interceptions were his fault?
That's how
that second one was definitely his fault.
Yeah,
okay,
that was
well,
terrible.
okay.
That was an awful,
He tried to throw.
awful decision.
Okay,
He tried to throw
wait,
Marvin
let
Mims
me
open
explain.
Why are you
with the
throwing-
DB on top.
Let me
Yes.
explain. After the game, Sean Payton said, "That's on me."
Yeah,
that was
because
a bad
he's his
play
coach.
call.
Good job,
Like,
Sean.
of
He's a
course he
real
did.
good
Of
coach.
course he
Of
did.
course he did. He didn't do that once to Russell Wilson last
He didn't
year.
like Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
You
I'm
know he
just-
doesn't like him,
Well,
right?
Hey, I'm just saying what the coach said. He
Get
said
outta
that.
here.
But you don't
He
have to
took
believe it.
all the responsibility,
Yeah,
so
no.
he doesn't get blamed for that one. And then
No,
the
he
other
does.
one,
my God.
He does.
the other
We've
one
all- we've
bounced.
all-
No, Sean took blame away from him.
We've all
I don't care what
apologized.
Sean
Listen,
did.
we-
I'm
We've all apologized to our girls for not when we don't even know what we did wrong.
Yes.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh my goodness.
So that one definitely not on him. Sean took blame for it. And as Mr. James in the comment section saying as well in the Twitter chat. And then the other one, I've never seen a ball bounce higher in the air after being inches off the ground. That was so unbelievably fluky. I'm willing to write it off. Two of Bo's past 3 interceptions have been on tipped balls or like batted balls. The other one, little Jordan Humphrey, couldn't catch it against the Baltimore Ravens. That one was tipped in the air, led to an interception. So he hasn't had one interception, according to Sean Payton, in the past month that has been on him. That wasn't.
He hasn't had one. He had one yesterday.
So
and
not according to Sean.
The other 2 are on the stat sheet. So
Todd, how does a defense get interceptions?
tips and overthrows.
Tips. And what happened with Marvin Mims?
Overthrow.
Yeah, so that's how
one's on Sean.
interceptions work. That's how
Sean said
interceptions
it.
work. Like
Sean can't throw the football anymore.
when you throw a ball into a contested receiver, like that one that bounced up in the air, sometimes that's what happens. Like if you watch all the interceptions that happened in the NFL this week, most of them aren't Jameis Winston interceptions where it's just like, threw it right to a defender. For the most part, it is bad luck. That's where interceptions come from, and typically it's like bad luck in a situation where you're probably making.
There's a lot of bad throws.
There are some, but like the fact that I think Bo was probably due for some bad luck.
And
after,
there's been a few throws that were bad that people dropped that were interceptions.
I don't know what you're
it doesn't
talking
mean
about.
you have to panic about Bo or anything, but last night was just not his best game. And to Bo's credit, it wasn't a game of consistent offensive production or consistent defensive production. It was just a game of making big plays that changed the game, and Bo made some of those. You know, it wasn't a game where you needed efficiency. It was a game where you needed to be able to get the ball downfield a couple times, and he made some big plays. So credit to him.
The 952 yards of total offense that this game had is the third most in the NFL this season. What a fun, electrifying game. I like that we saw Bo be more aggressive in this game, and I think he's going to find that perfect balance, and it's going to make him one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And you talk about Cortland being a top 10 receiver. Bo Nix is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL right now. Right now. Hands down, he's 5th in Pro Bowl voting for the AFC. Like I told you guys last week, I think he's going to be a fringe Pro Bowl guy. That's exactly where he is now, according to the voters. And he's a rookie right now, which is just wild. Let's get into where this game puts the Broncos in the playoff picture after I give a shout out to our friends over at Verizon, where 'tis the season to switch to Verizon, because right now, when you switch to Verizon, you can get a $200 Verizon gift card when you switch and purchase a select phone on a select unlimited plans. Start the holidays off right with a great network and use that gift card to start checking other great tech gifts off your list like smartwatches, tablets, headphones, and more. Also, be on the lookout very soon for a ticket giveaway to the Denver Broncos game, courtesy of Verizon for this holiday season. As people in the Twitter chat have said, Mile High was popping off last night. And if you want to be at one of the final games, switch to Verizon to get in on that sweepstakes. Switch now and get a $200 gift card only at Verizon. The $200 Verizon e-gift card sent within 8 weeks requires device payment purchase, minimum retail price of $799.99, and port in with new smartphone line on postpaid Unlimited Plus or Unlimited Ultimate plan required.
And make sure that you're coming out to our events. Last night we had the tailgate, of course, which was a lot of fun. It looked really cool. Like being up on the hill with like the sunset and the lights. You guys saw it on the pregame show. Hopefully you guys watched that. Also, Todd, I'm a little bit upset we don't have a Bet365 read today. You went 3 for 3 on those picks.
I killed it.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Thank
You
you.
just took the overs on everything pretty much?
No, I had Jameis Winston's 2 interceptions plus 290.
Yep.
I had Troy Franklin 20 yards plus 135.
Yep.
Nik Bonitto sack plus 125.
That's the thing.
So you knew a Jameis Winston game was coming.
Jameis gonna give you a chance.
Yeah. So if you were at the tailgate, you would have heard him record the show. You would have been able to make all that money. But we've got that going. We've got all the takeovers, all that sort of stuff. You can follow us at DNVR_sports or go to thednvr.com/events to check out our calendar.
And shout out to Bet365, our presenting sponsor of this show. Okay, guys, let's take a look at where the Broncos sit, because this is a thing of beauty for Broncos country. You've got the Chiefs at the 1 seed, 11-1. Bills right behind them, 10-2. Then the Steelers, 9-3. Texans get a win, 8-5. Then with the 3 wild card spots, you have 3 teams within half a game of each other. But as of right now, the Chargers do have that top wild card spot at 8-4. The Ravens at 8-5 with the tiebreak over the Broncos, who are also at 8-5. And then you have the Colts, the first team out at 6-7. Then the Dolphins 5-7, Bengals 4-8. But the biggest thing to me is this thing set, guys. We know the teams that are going to be in and the teams that are going to be out, and the Broncos are on the inside of this thing. They've got a 2-game lead over the Colts right now with 5 weeks left, with 4 games left in the season. I've been calling my shot for a month now that this Broncos team is a playoff team. This is a guarantee. Right now it says it's a 76% chance the Broncos make the playoffs. No, it's a 100% chance the Broncos make the playoffs. That win last night was so big to give them a 2-game lead on a Colts team that's below 500, on a Colts team that is way too shaky to trust down the stretch to be able to do what they need to do to make a serious playoff push. And then you look, the Dolphins are 2.5 games back, and the Bengals are 3 games back right now. This thing's over. The Broncos are a playoff team. Am I crazy?
No, you're not high anymore. I think you definitely came down. No, I think that the Broncos are a playoffs team, and I think we can go ahead and start looking for tickets and flights, either to Buffalo or Pittsburgh.
Yeah, the only question is where.
I don't know. Just buy both and then cancel.
And then also, you can buy tickets to any of them. Kansas City, if they lose one more game, the Bills own the tiebreaker over them, so then they drop down and have to play. Yeah. Buffalo, obviously, is who the Broncos are matched up against now. And the Broncos are only half game away from having that top wild card spot, which would mean they get to go and play Houston in Houston. Texas. Yeah, in Houston. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be a fun game to go to.
I will say, I mean, you got to beat the Colts still. Like, that's your game after the bye. You should win it. Like, they should be able to take care of business. 2-game lead with 4 to play is exactly where you want to be. 2016, they were 8-4 and missed the playoffs. 2009, they were 8-4 and missed the playoffs. I'm just saying, like, just because you're in a great shape right now, you still got to seal the deal. You know, it's not just going to be handed to you, because you still have 4 good teams that you got to play. And I think they're personally, I think they're going to go 3-1. I think they might even have this locked up. They might be able to clinch it when they play the Colts. There's a chance because they'd have the tiebreaker over the Colts.
If they beat the Colts and the Bengals lose, they clinch.
Yeah. No, the Broncos have to go at least. Well, no, in order to clinch, no, I don't think they can clinch this next week because I think if they lose, if they lose out and the Colts win out, then I think the Colts.
Well, that's what he was saying. If they beat the Colts, and the Bengals lose.
If they beat the Colts, Colts can't pass them. Worst the Broncos could do is 9-8. Best Broncos could do.
So then, if the Dolphins lose as well, no, the Dolphins have if the Dolphins win out, they the Broncos have to go 2-2. So yeah, maybe they can clinch.
So they're 12. Yeah. No, there is. Let me double check with the Bengals. Yeah. No, they could clinch. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they do. Is the point. But still, I mean. You gotta play the games. You need to not blow it, because we've seen teams blow it in the past. And even beyond that, I mean, those are the 2 extreme examples. But 2018 6-6, 2021 7-6, 2023 7-6. Like, you gotta seal the deal before you say 100%.
Henry, when are you going to learn you can trust this team? I've been telling you for over a month as well. This is a team that's not going to be like the 2016 Broncos.
You can't trust any NFL team. What are you talking?
No, you can trust this Denver Broncos team.
You can't trust a single NFL team. Every team's gonna blow a game.
Todd, help me out here.
This is between you and
you can trust this
you
team.
Can't trust
You've been worried about the Broncos losing to bad teams.
Yeah.
They've proven you
because
wrong
that
there.
happens in the NFL.
They've talked about it, not with the Broncos.
That happened with the Browns. They beat the Ravens and the Steelers.
I'm not talking about the Browns.
Ooh.
It happens
I'm
to every
talking
team.
about the Denver Broncos here. I'm talking about this team. I'm not talking about the 2016 Broncos. I'm not talking about last year's Broncos when they couldn't beat the Patriots in a game that they absolutely should have won. This is a team that has proven you wrong on that about not being
Proved
able
you
to
wrong.
trust them.
Somebody
Said
told
week
you
two was
wrong.
Me right,
That was a must-win.
because this is a team that you can trust now. So Broncos
season's
Country,
dead.
you can trust this team. I thought Henry was going to buy in to this idea that you could trust him after last night.
You can't trust an NFL team.
Oh my goodness! you
Every
can trust
team
this
loses.
one.
The Chiefs almost lost to the Panthers.
Did they?
No, they didn't wind up losing. But
does it matter if you?
That's how-
Almost
no, it
no,
doesn't.
but that's the
Only
NFL.
horseshoes
They
and
can
hand
have it.
grenades.
KJ Taylor, I got
Okay.
faith. You got faith in the Toyota chat.
So this is the last 5 games for the Dolphins. They're at home versus the Jets. They're away versus the Texans. They're at home versus the Niners. Away against the Browns, and away against the Jets. That's their last 5 games.
So they could go undefeated.
Texans and 49ers and we saw the
49ers are
Browns.
trash. 49ers are done.
I think they're better than
could.
I think they're better than the Dolphins though.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about that. The path for the so I mean, if the Broncos win out, they clinch it. It doesn't matter. They'll be 12-5 as well. But I know to guarantee them a spot, if they go 2-2 over these next 2 games, it doesn't matter what anyone else does. If they go 2-2 over these next 2 games and one of those wins is against the Colts and the Dolphins lose 1 game, boom, you don't have to worry about anything else. That is a win for the Broncos right there. Man, what a fun show. Nik Bonitto is on the Pat McAfee show, getting all the shine he deserves right now. And let's give the comments. What?
I was trying to give him a shine.
Yeah, he's a defensive player of the year right now.
Yeah.
Pat Surtain is just, as Todd said, maybe the best ever.
Yeah.
I mean,
Just a what if. Like, what if it happens?
we already talked about
What
that.
if?
I want to hit the comments and get to the super chats from the people tuning in. We got Brandon chiming in who says Broncos are 8-5 with 7 wins being by 2 or more scores. We are so back, Brandon. Hell of a stat. The Broncos have the most 2-point more than 1 possession wins in the NFL this season. It's insane.
That's very insane. Definitely a stat that you wouldn't have expected going into this season. But it's tough because, we're playing so well. I don't want a lot of hype going into next year. I want it to be the same doubters and naysayers and keep the team kind of, in a box by themselves and just come out and ball. So that's for next year after we make the playoffs. But
Yep. Nate chimes in and says, I love Todd and Hank, but have to push back some. On November 22nd, 2015, Jay Cutler, throwing to practice squad wide receivers, went for 265 yards on 32 attempts and almost pulled the upset.
what does that mean? 265 is almost half of what Jameis had yesterday. And he almost won? I thought we said almost didn't count.
Almost doesn't count.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
My
In
bad,
Hank's
man.
book, it might count.
All
But, rebuilding this team might need a new name because this team might be built right now. It says Bonitto is playing his 3rd season and deserves an extension. Does he get a massive contract, Todd?
Yeah, he's going to get paid for sure. I mean, we saw what Jonathan Cooper got. He's 2nd in the league in sacks right now. He's making game-changing plays. He's going to get anywhere between 15 and 25 million. Like, he's going to get paid without a doubt.
Start at 25, 100 mil, 4-year extension, 100 million, 60 million guaranteed. That's the baseline. And assuming that he continues on to finish the season on the track he's on, he finishes like 2nd in the NFL in sacks, like we're talking about.
So he's going to have 15 sacks if he continues the track he's on, because he's averaging a sack a game for like the last 11 games, right?
Yep,
Average.
exactly. So it'd be 15. Man, what a lucky number. He switched to number 15, gets 15 sacks. Maybe he should switch back to 42. And that means he's on pace for 42 sacks next season. Just blows that record out of the water. Drake R chimes in and says, Knicks might be offensive rookie of the year, and Pat Surtain might be the defensive player of the year. Oh, Nik
There we go.
Bonitto. I read his Knicks. Might be the defensive player of the year, and Pat Surtain as the
Come on. There you
defensive
go.
player of all time. Wow. Hell yeah.
Depot.
I love that, Drake. Depot.
Yeah.
Or why don't we just call that the GOAT? The GOAT. And that's what we're
Deep-
talking about right now. I mean, we're debating if Nik Bonitto is better than Pat
No,
Surtain.
Hank is debating. Like, I'm not.
No.
I'm saying
I'm not
what-
debating
We have a
that.
topic for
I'm not
tomorrow now,
debating
just
that.
I'm saying
No.
what I'm saying. This is a great time to be a Broncos
I'm
fan.
not saying is he as
Oh,
good.
come
I'm saying,
on.
no,
You
no,
can't
no, no,
just
no,
say
no, no, no,
that.
no, 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 no,
You
no.
can't
I
do
just said
this.
what
You
if.
can't
I
say
said
it and
what
then
if.
back away.
I
No,
said
you didn't
what
just
if.
say what if you went up.
I said
you
what
went
if he
on
goes
to
to 50.
give
I didn't say-
stats
Yeah.
about
I
how
was
Nik
just saying, like,
Bonitto is.
what if he does it? What if
You
he
just
does have
compared him to
15
T-
years?
to
What if he
TJ
has
Watt
16
and
sacks
how-
a year?
Yeah.
No, I would never say Nik Bonitto is better than Pat Surtain.
Then what was the point of bringing up TJ Watt and his
It's
stats
such a
and
good-
how
Oh,
that?
my
the
gosh.
point
correlates
was
to-
that you have a freak at edge rusher, a freak at defensive line, and a freak at corner, and you have 2 spots left. But then we got hung up on the road there when I said like
You?
No, all I did
You
was
brought
talk.
it
You
up.
guys got hung up on it.
Well,
all
that's
I
what
said was
that's what you do on shows. You talk.
yeah. all I
That's
said-
what you did.
and that's what I did. And
We
then
go-
you got hung up.
We got one more
Can't
super
reel
chat
us
from
back
Nate who
in,
says
brother.
Jameis has had 26 more passing attempts, 58 total. Who is throwing that much anymore? Okay, that makes sense. So Jay Cutler was able to put up that many yards on like half the attempts. That is wild. They threw the ball 58 times. But hey, that's what you do when you have Jameis. You let him go wild and throw pick sixes to the Broncos. What a fun show. What a fun time to be a Broncos fan. I'm off for the rest of the week, just like the Broncos are enjoying their bye. These two got you rolling the rest of the week. Thank you all so much. You mean the world to us, and it's going to be an awesome rest of the season. But these guys got you rolling starting tomorrow, again, 10 a.m. We'll
I'm
see you
off
then.
too. I'm out.
Hey.
We all silly like the mayor.